Hey, this is Josh with Sunday Vlog Day, and so a few weeks ago, not a sponsor, don't have enough followers for a sponsor. Anyways, a few weeks ago, after my brother did DNA testing, because everyone likes to know where they come from, and he did 23andMe, so I did 23andMe. Um, and yeah, I found, well, as you can see, I am very white. That is very much the case because almost 99.5% of my DNA is white people. Um, and so obviously there's a lot, most of the DNA I have is white. However, there is some non-white DNA, but everyone probably has a little bit of non-white DNA in them. And that's the beauty of DNA testing. It's not exactly going to be accurate, in like down to the detail where you're from. It's going to be a little the broadness, the broad DNA testing is going to be fairly accurate. Like, um, it if I have sub-Saharan African DNA, I probably have sub-Saharan African DNA. If I have Middle Eastern or North African DNA, I probably have it, but like it's not going to be down to the specific. So for me, a lot of the European, it just comes from where my family comes from. My dad's side of the family is Northwest European. So is my mom's. However, there are some difference. There are some places where you can get different DNA. And for me personally, and for my family, as in my nuclear family of my mom, my dad, myself, and my brother, the mitochondrial DNA, at least for me and my brother, through our mom, it's a little bit different. Because apparently, she comes from what was it again? Maternal haplogroup HV9A, which apparently isn't very common in Europe. The original, the HV itself, is found. HV is relatively uncommon, where it is found in less than 2% of people. It does, however, reach slightly higher frequencies in the south along the Mediterranean in Italy and Spain. However, the highest concentration appears to be in Iraq, as well as Iran and the Caucasus. That's not unlikely. A lot of intermingling in the Mediterranean area, which isn't very far from Iraq. And yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about. Of course, like I said earlier, DNA testing isn't exactly going to be accurate all the time. It depends on what the DNA testing company is looking at. 23andMe looks at one thing. Ancestry.com's DNA testing looks at another thing. The National Geographic one looks at a third. So if I were to have gotten DNA testing from all three, I would probably have, in the broad scheme of things, fairly similar results. And if they're looking at if they look at the haplogroup of the Y and X, the Y chromosomal DNA and the mitochondrial DNA, it'll probably be the same. But overall, there might be a slight addition here or a slight addition there. It just does depend on what it's looking at, and the traits that it finds, kind of matches it to groups of people that have similar traits in their DNA, and it's gonna have to look at very specific places because 99% of our DNA, the overall DNA, it's going to be very similar with with pretty much everyone. And on top of that, a good amount of our DNA is going to be similar to like trees or chimpanzees or various other things. So the DNA testing itself has to be very specific. I'll actually link that article in the description below. But overall, the results are not surprising. But yeah, this week I am planning for the Monday. I'm planning to start a mini-series on religion, specifically through the lens of the book God Is Not One. I had to read it for a religious studies class in college, and it was very interesting, the way it looked at religions. And then Wednesday and Friday, some stuff will happen. I don't know specifically. Thursday, I will be doing videos on the Fosters, Walking Dead, Arrowverse, and Riverdale, and Criminal Minds. So look forward to those. Otherwise, this is Sunday Vlog Day. Signing off.